teach me the way that you guide me with your love sets me free. Oh Lama, care for me, for I am plagued by turbulent emotions. Protect me, and from the center of my heart rise up compassionate Lama, my only refuge. Oh Lama, without you I would not have seen my true mind. I give up everything to you, for I believe that you will never give up on me. Would you? Oh Lama, care for me, for I am plagued by turbulent emotions. Protect me, and from the center of my heart rise up compassionate Lama, my only refuge. For I am plagued by turbulent emotions. Protect me, and from the center of my heart rise up compassionate Lama, my only refuge. Rise up compassionate Lama, my only refuge.
But I just found out what the pujas are. So then we can specifically tell people and the purposes of each one. And back. Tashi delay, everybody. Namaste. So we start with prayers. We're going to do all in English. Are we not? So the visualization is your mother on your left, your father on your right, friends behind you, enemies in front of you, and all sentient beings surrounding you, and they're all looking towards you. So you're taking refuge on behalf of all those suffering sentient beings, mother sentient beings, who need your help. And you're paying attention, if you like, to all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, but particularly in this case, Shakyamuni Buddha, from where all our teachings came. So we're asking Shakyamuni Buddha for blessings, for positive energy, for teachings, turn the wheel of Dharma. You're asking to have that strong connection so that you can quickly become enlightened, so that you can quickly benefit all of those sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation of merits of practicing generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation of merits of practicing generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the accumulation of merits of practicing generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from the happiness which is without suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from both attachment and hatred, holding some close and others distant. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence, and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of others to the great enlightenment. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine this as a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. So welcome everybody, and today we continue with equalizing and exchanging ourselves with others. So the last time we were together, we were discussing the equalizing, equanimity. If you have bodhicitta, then you have the attitude of love and compassion towards all beings. There wouldn't be one being that you would exclude. So if you compare that to our minds, how we are, I don't know about you, but for us ordinary human beings, we can develop dislike for this one, we can develop attachment for that one. I really like, I really don't like, this, the bold and the beautiful, the young and the restless, all these programs. It's what they're all based on, this reality of human beings and the way that we are. That way that we are creates and recreates samsara. So because I like so much, then what sort of emotion do I create and recreate? It's not just one time, it's over and over and over that creating attachment, grasping, desire, planting those seeds developing and growing. Then again, there's the object of attachment, desire, grasping, on and on and on and on. And if we don't think about this, if we don't analyze this, if we don't go more deeply into what's actually happening, then we just feel sort of lucky, unlucky. I'm lucky in love. isn't it? People say, I'm lucky in love, and then it all goes wrong, and then I'm unlucky in love, and, you know, sort of like that, lucky, unlucky. So then we must analyze what we mean by lucky, unlucky. In Buddhism, we don't have luck. We have merit, right? So accumulation of karma, karmic imprints. And those karmic imprints, as I've explained before, just in 1 second, you're creating so many karmic imprints which are multiplied and multiplied and multiplied just within even 10 seconds, 1 minute, 1 hour. We can multiply those imprints so much. So then there's a huge potential for attachment, desire, huge potential for hatred, anger, these, you know, the opposites. It's easier to talk about the opposites than more if we talk about the, oh, whatever, you know, it's sort of not so interesting. But if you talk about those two extremes, I think we get it, you know, either we've experienced it or we see others experiencing it. So at this point in the Lamrim, we've gone through so many teachings, so many stages. Why? Because we want to develop great love, great compassion, bodhicitta. We get to the stage where we really want to have bodhicitta, but if we don't have a method for developing bodhicitta, then I was thinking this morning, this is like New Year. I don't know if people still do this, but you know how we used to make 31st of December, you make a list of all the things that you want to do, that you want to change. I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to exercise, and you know, you make all these sort of big plans. And then after a few days, you break one, you break them all. It's all gone. So is the Lamrim going to be like that? Is bodhicitta going to be like that, where you've made all these promises to yourself that, yes, I want to do this for the benefit of all sentient beings. And so then virtually, I'm not going to say telling lies to all sentient beings, but I think in a way it's cheating yourself, cheating them, cheating yourself, because you're saying, I'm going to liberate all sentient beings, but then you're not developing the method. So the method is very important. We talked about 6 causes and 1 effect. The problem with 6 causes and 1 effect is seeing all beings as your mother, right? If you didn't particularly get on with your mother, then you have problems. So we have the other method, which is this one, equalizing, exchanging self with others. This was said to be the more challenging method. So you can see how in ancient times, the mother would have been sort of the crux, the center of the family. You know, she was always there cooking, the pot on the stove, you know, because wood fire, always stoking the fire, always keeping the water boiling or whatever, difficult situations. So the mother was the center, the core of the family. So the mother was very important. So the 6 causes and 1 effect is based on that nurturing, loving feeling that the mother gave. But for Westerners, and maybe many Asians, who knows, some will have problem with the mother, or not connect with that, maybe have a good connection with the mother, but maybe not connect with that method. So the other method, this method, is the wisdom method based on emptiness. This is the wisdom lineage. It comes from Shakyamuni Buddha, to Manjushri, through Nagarjuna, Shantideva, to Atisha, to Lama Tsongkhapa. So again, it's a method of training in bodhicitta, but it's said to be the more difficult one because it's based on wisdom. Do we have wisdom? We do our best, right? So you have to choose between the two methods. You try both, 6 causes and 1 effect. Then you try Tonglen, equalizing and exchanging. You try both methods and you see which method is the one for you, is the one that's going to change your heart, is the one that's going to connect you with love and compassion for all sentient beings. We're going to exchange our happiness for the suffering, for the suffering of others. It sounds crazy. You know, why would I do this? Why would I give away my happiness? And why would I take on suffering? You see, already in this method, when you hear that, you can think, oh, this is ridiculous. Why on earth would I do this? Maybe the other method sounds better, easier. Now I go back to the other method, right? I like the sound of that one. All beings mother. This one, I'm giving away my happiness. And what did I want? Happiness. What did I not want? Suffering. And this method is saying, you are going to give your happiness, you are going to take on the suffering. But if this is the wisdom method, where's the wisdom? You ask yourself, what's wise about that? It sounds crazy to be doing that. So we have to go back to the crux of the matter is from beginningless time. Beginningless, somebody asked me the question last time. Beginningless really means there is no beginning. We cannot posit a beginning. So from beginningless time until now, we have been self-cherishing. Why? Because we thought there is an I, a me. I want this, I want this, I want this. And if I get this, I'm going to be happy. And if I reject that, I'll be happy. So everything was about my happiness and not to have suffering. And if you live alone, perhaps with no other sentient beings, that might work. I know when I was a child, my mother, her background was Irish, but also Spanish. And she used to like the heat. This is in England, where it's freezing cold in winter. So we had a boiler, a coal boiler, that heated the water that went through the pipes in the house, these big old iron pipes. So my mother would stoke up the fire and then not switch the water on, and the temperature gauge would go higher and higher and higher, and sometimes she'd completely forget about it. And it was in the red zone, and the whole boiler was sort of shaking. And then she'd remember and run out and switch it on, and this boiling hot water would go through the house. And, you know, you'd be sweating. In the middle of winter, we'd be sweating. So it was like sitting in the tropics, you know, which she really enjoyed. So I used to turn down, just gradually, just turn down the dial. We had temperature gauges in the house. So she'd have it on something like 28. So I turn it to 26 and then 24. But sooner or later she'd notice because it got cold, and then she'd turn it back up again, you know. So you can have this conflict over temperature within the house if you're living with other people, food, all sorts of things, you know. And this is all based on self-cherishing. What I want doesn't necessarily agree with what you want. So think about the conflicts that we have in this world, all based on self-cherishing. From beginningless time, I have had self-cherishing. I've experienced self-cherishing. I am self-cherishing. And that's because I'm cherishing something that I think exists, the me, the I, the self, and I grasp onto it with my mental fingers as if something exists, something is there. I grasp onto it, and then I cherish it, and then I take care of it like a baby. And this goes on and on and on. So the wisdom method is understanding the emptiness of that self. Instead of thinking that self truly exists, really exists, it's analyzing the emptiness of that self. So was it last time or the time before when I talked at the beginning of the teaching? It was quite a lot about I, self, wasn't it? I don't know if it was last time or the time before. But that's the teaching that you need to concentrate on. Is there an I? Does the I really exist? It's just like an illusion, like a mirage, like a bad dream, like a nightmare, right? So that's why this method is more difficult, because it's based on that, the emptiness of the I. Not that there is an I and it's empty, you know, like cup, nothing in the cup. There is no I at all. So I think this is where we might get confused, because we might think there's an I, a form, but that it's empty, that there's nothing in that I, you know? So similar to when you're meditating, you're sitting there meditating and you no thoughts at all, right? So you've got no thoughts. Then you think there's an I meditating, but there's no thoughts. That's what it means. That's not what it means. This analysis is there is no existent I at all. There's a merely labeled I. We can put a label on it because it functions. You know, I can say, I'm teaching, I'm listening, you know, like that. We can put a label. We can say I, but it's not a truly existent I. It's a convention, a label that we can put, which works for us because we need to communicate. And because of our need to communicate, we've developed this I into something very tangible. So we can go to a psychiatrist and tell all about our I, you know, we can describe it, and then there's this, and then there's this, and, you know, we can really get into, and sorry, your hour's up, you know, and then next week, more. So we very much believe that I is existent, and there's so many facets to that I, that how could it be non-existent? So this is one obstacle to Tonglen, to this practice, is believing that I to be truly existent. So Tonglen will help with that, because we're going to gather everything into the chest area, all those thoughts, all those concepts, all those feelings of I, we're going to gather them into the chest area. And then by taking on somebody else's suffering, or all being suffering, you're going to explode all those conjectures, all those thoughts of I. and the sufferings and the unhappiness, everything's going to explode. So I think this method can help with emptiness, but don't worry if it seems a bit difficult at the beginning. It's just a process. You know, anything new is difficult. Can you remember getting on a bicycle? I can. You know, and you fall down. You fall down. All your knees are scraped. Roller skating, same. Ice skating, same. You know, anything with some skill, it's difficult. So you've got to keep doing it. You keep doing it, and it gets easier. So the first thing we have to do is equalizing ourselves with others. The second one is the advantages. I made a PowerPoint, so there it is, even without asking. So you have it on the screen. So I'll tell you the 5 steps, and then we can remove the PowerPoint. So equalizing yourself with others, the advantages of exchanging self with others, the disadvantages of not exchanging, the ability to exchange self with others, and then taking and giving, which is the actual Tonglen. So this file, if you like, this will be available to you. So if you can't write it down now, don't worry, you can download it, or you're downloading, we're uploading, isn't it? Okay, so we've dealt with equanimity. You've meditated on equanimity, I hope. The advantages of exchanging self with others. We're exchanging an attitude, one attitude with another attitude. That's what the exchange is. You're exchanging one attitude for another attitude. What's the attitude that you want to get rid of? Self-cherishing. What's the attitude that you want to develop? Cherishing others. Okay? I have something. Self-cherishing. Did it give me happiness from beginningless time? Did it give me enlightenment? Did it give me bodhicitta? No. Don't cheat yourself. Don't fool yourself. No, it didn't. Because here we are. We're still wondering how to get bodhicitta. So therefore, this attitude, this DNA, this system that we've developed from beginningless time has not worked. We need to be very clear about that. It has not worked. Self-cherishing has not worked. We need to do something else. So if self-cherishing hasn't worked, then why not try what the Buddhas did, what the Buddhas are doing, what they have done, what they are doing, what they will do, cherishing others. Okay? So self-cherishing, we have done from beginningless time. Cherishing others, we've done a bit. If I want something, I'll cherish you. Have some flowers, have some chocolates, Christmas presents, because I want a gift back. So, that I give you something in order to get something back. But this has to be altruistic. The cherishing others needs to be altruistic, without that thought of I'm going to get something back. So I'm exchanging the attitude of cherishing myself with the attitude of cherishing others. Then what's the advantage? Is there an advantage? There must be an advantage. So where does happiness and all good conditions come from? The attitude of cherishing others. Where do all sufferings and problems come from? Self-cherishing. Because when I'm self-cherishing, I create negative karma and delusion. When I'm cherishing others, I create the cause of love and compassion. So then we use reasoning. And the reasoning that we're using is happiness and good conditions are a result of positive karma. Positive karma arises from virtuous minds. Where do virtuous minds come from? Cherishing others. Then you look at specific things such as long life, beauty, happiness of mind. You know, all these virtuous minds have created positive results. Having, well, being rich. If you want to have lots of money, if you want to have lots of resources, then you need to give in order to create the cause to have. If you want to be beautiful, then you need to be patient. If you want to have a long life, you need to protect the lives of others. If you want to have a high position where you can influence others in society, then you need to give respect, to cherish others with respect. So in the Guru Puja, it says, the mind cherishing mothers and securing them in bliss is the gateway to infinite qualities. Seeing this, even should they rise up as enemies, bless me to cherish them more than my life. Tough. So it's not saying step one, all beings are equal. Step two, I cherish them. Step three, everything good happens. You know, it's not saying that in the text. So you have to be careful that you don't have this type of thinking where you think step one, equalizing, very nice. Yes, I like that equanimity. Step two, I start to do this, you know, thinking of the advantages, the disadvantages. And so I start thinking about cherishing others. And so I start being nice to others and cherishing them. And somebody slaps your face, you know, mentally slaps your face. And you think, oh, how can it happen? It's impossible, you know. This method doesn't work. It could get worse. It can get much worse. So don't do this with the idea that it's going to give you everything. The idea is the transformation's happening in your heart, and it's going to purify bucket loads, truckloads of negative karma. And so negative karma can ripen. It can happen. It can come up. But if you know the method, you know that you're purifying, you know that something good is happening because it's happening within you as opposed to you being within the hell realms. You're still in the human realm. So the suffering is minimized, is smaller than if you have died and you've gone to one of the hellish states of existence. I remember hearing from a Lama that if you have a small headache, you rejoice because you think this is like purifying the hell realms, just a small headache. So you get a small headache instead of a big result. You know, you're purified. If you have a small breeze blowing on you on a hot day, you think, wow, this is my positive karma ripening. So these small things you start to notice as positive karma ripening, negative karma purifying. The next one, the disadvantages of not exchanging. Why not to exchange? Why not? So it's just the opposite. We were saying, if you practice generosity, the result will be great wealth. So if you don't cherish others with generosity, then what will the result be? That you won't have resources. You're not going to have resources to benefit others. If you're angry towards others, then you're not practicing patience, then you're not going to have a good form. And then you might think, so why do I need a good form? Well, think of the people who in society are counted as very good looking, these film stars. And everybody looks at them and says, wow, so good looking. They have an influence over society where when they speak, people will listen. So it's said to have a good form is very beneficial when you're in Dharma. All suffering arises from negative karma, which itself is a result of non-virtuous states of mind, which in turn derive from the self-cherishing attitude. Whatever suffering there is in this world, all comes from desiring myself to be happy. This is from Shantideva. So how do you have short life? Killing others. Poverty comes from miserliness. Malice gives us unreasoned fear. Malicious thoughts, right? Malicious thoughts, so easy, because it's all happening in the head. You can, I really don't like this person, blah, 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 blah. If I could do that to the boss, I'd be happy. But then you never act it out, but because you don't like your boss, you can have a really negative state of mind. So you think you're free. You think that you've created no karma, but actually you've created karma. So in future, the result of that malicious thought, malice, is unreasoned fear, a fear that arises without reason. Many people experience that these days. Lacking success and resources is a result of excessive attachment and grasping for those things. So you grasp onto them, and because you grasp onto them, you don't want to share them. And because you don't want to share them, then you don't create the cause for success, to have more. All the sufferings of the human realm, as well as the sufferings of the three lower realms, arise from negative actions based on the delusions of attachment, anger, and ignorance. They arise from self-cherishing. Self-cherishing brings no benefit to others, and it does not produce anything but suffering for you. Again, in the Guru Puja, it says, the chronic disease of cherishing myself is the source giving rise to unwanted suffering. Perceiving this, bless me to blame, begrudge, and destroy this great demon of selfishness. So you need to meditate on the benefits of cherishing others, and you need to meditate on the disadvantages of not exchanging. So if I do it, what are the benefits? And if I don't do it, what are the problems? And then you compare the two. Hopefully, the advantages are more than the disadvantages. I hope you don't end up thinking, wow, it's much better to be self-cherishing. then I give up. I shouldn't be teaching anymore. So you should come to the conclusion, it's much better to cherish others, better from all points of view. From the point of view of cherishing others, I'm better off. I'm going to get happiness from cherishing others. Whereas when I cherish myself, my happiness is not real happiness, it's pleasure. It's just the alleviation of suffering, right? So what we've been striving for from beginningless time is real happiness, but what we've been getting is real suffering. And that's why Buddha taught the first noble truth, the truth of suffering, because we've got the wrong method. Actually, what we wanted him to teach was the truth of happiness, because we all want happiness, right? So what we wanted him to teach is the truth of happiness, but in actual fact, he had to teach the truth of suffering, because that's the root. The truth of happiness would have been the leaves on the tree. It's a product, right? But if you look deep down in the earth, the very root that's producing that trunk, that's producing those branches, that's producing those leaves, whether they're medicinal or whether they're poisonous, depends on the root. It all grows from there. So the root in this case is suffering. And if you transform the suffering becomes the cause of happiness, if you're skillful. Otherwise, suffering is just suffering. If you're not skillful, suffering is just suffering. We need to be skillful with suffering. So, we're not positing that you should have more suffering, sort of beating yourself, those, the whips that they have in Spain and places like that. You can get this sort of whip and you whip yourself and more suffering, more suffering. Buddha didn't say that. He didn't say, make more and more and more and more suffering, and then that will make you enlightened. What he was looking at is understand suffering, understand the cause of suffering, find a path out of suffering. But the path out of suffering needs to be a wise path, not the path that we've used in the past, which is not a wise path. It's an ignorant path. We didn't understand self and other, self-cherishing and cherishing other. We didn't understand. Because of that, we have created more and more causes of suffering. So our method didn't work. Now we try the Buddha's method. Okay, so then the next one, the ability to exchange self with others. The ability to exchange. Can I do it? Okay, so you went through equanimity, the advantages, the disadvantages, you weighed the whole thing up. Now you should come to a conclusion. This is when the Dharma cheerleaders come out with their pom-poms, cheering. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dharma, 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 Tonglen, Tonglen. We can do it, we can do it. You need to have that sort of energy for it, because otherwise this practice is tough. Taking on suffering, giving back happiness, it's tough. You need to have courage. So you need the sort of cheerleader pom-poms, the ability to exchange self for others. Can I do it or not? If you came to the conclusion, oh no, this sounds very nice, but no, I can't do it. Go back to the 6 causes and 1 effect, right? Because if you're fighting against it, if you think, no, I couldn't do this, then what's the point in going on? This method is not for you. So you've got the other method. We need one of these methods. We've only got 2, so one or the other. So thinking, selfish concern has driven me to kill, steal, lie, cheat, etc. Selfish concern feeds my attachment, anger, jealousy, and other delusions. So I've remained in cyclic existence from beginningless time because of selfish concern. You have to come to that conclusion. It's not good luck, bad luck. It's not because of the country I was born in. It's not because of the family I was born in. It's not because of anything except selfish concern, self-cherishing. From beginningless time has created karma and delusion, which keeps me trapped in cyclic existence. So where's the exit? How do I get out? I have to have an appreciation of this method and an acceptance that this method would work. Yeah, I can see the logic of it. I can't quite see how I can do it, but I can understand the logic of it. So now is the time to exchange this self-cherishing attitude for the attitude of cherishing others. One is a poison and the other is a nectar, right? So the poison is the one that I've been swallowing from beginningless time. Me, 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 me. Poison, poison, poison. So I'm poisoning myself, but blaming others for poisoning me, right? I blame you for doing this to me. But in actual fact, I'm doing it to myself because it's my self-cherishing attitude which is poisoning me. Guru Puja says, cherishing myself is the doorway to all downfalls, while cherishing mothers is the foundation of all good qualities. I seek your blessings to take as my essential practice the yoga of exchange of self for others. All bodhisattvas have the attitude of cherishing others as their practice. With that attitude, you continuously create positive karma and you become a source of goodness and happiness for all others, because you're not going to harm others. You're only going to benefit others. Even with your breath, you want to benefit others. So strengthen your determination to exchange the view of cherishing oneself for that of cherishing others, and then you concentrate on that. Strengthen your determination. I will do it, right? So you've gone through it step by step, and this is the determination. Yes, I'm going to do it. I've decided. And then you come to taking and giving. So usually I teach one way of doing this practice, but now I'm going to teach a slightly different way. The other way, we have recordings. So this way, it's slightly different, and then you can try this one. So taking and giving is an exceptional means to transform the ordinary self-cherishing attitude to the attitude of cherishing others. It's training your mind to reverse its trend, the trend that we have towards self-cherishing. And it establishes new mental habits, new patterns that are going to transform your behavior into that of cherishing others. Otherwise, you wish, isn't it? You wish to help others. Like I said, New Year, I wish I could be a bodhisattva, but you don't do anything. So we need a method to change those deep imprints that we have from beginningless time, which are blocking us from being a bodhisattva. So taking and giving. Taking refers to taking all beings' sufferings. You're going to take it from them. And then giving is giving all your happiness and good conditions. We're reversing self-cherishing. We're reversing this attitude that we have that everything good should come to me and everything bad should go to you, especially if you're divorced. So all the goodness that you have right now, all the happiness that you have right now, all the good conditions that you have right now, that's what you're giving away. And all the suffering and the problems that they have, you're taking on. So, I think we should be realistic about this. We shouldn't say that we can actually take on other sufferings, because if we could do it, then definitely Buddha could do it, and then Buddha would have done it. Why not? And samsara would have finished, right? So we've got to be careful, because maybe you think by doing this you can resolve the problems of all sentient beings. I do know cases where Tonglen has really affected another person. I do know, because some people have very strong karmic connection. But it doesn't work in every case. And you shouldn't be doing it thinking that you're going to fix somebody, right? I'm going to sit here and fix Lillian, and then she'll be okay. So I do the practice, and then I say to Lillian, how are you feeling? And she says, terrible. And then I think, oh, I give up. Tonglen doesn't work, right? So you've got to do this altruistically. I do it without wanting any gain, without wanting anything from it. I think this is very important as a motivation. Don't do it with some sort of bottom line, some sort of inner story that goes on in your own head. Be very careful that you don't do it that way. Okay. Just do it with good motivation. So this meditation, so I'll describe the meditation to you. You're sitting in a comfortable position, as comfortable as you can make yourself without being too comfortable. We wouldn't want you falling asleep. But it can be sitting in a chair, and it can be sitting on the floor. People often ask, can I sit in a chair? It's fine. I mean, I do find that when people sit in chairs, I often feel that they're not grounded, that you feel more grounded when you're on the floor. But again, it's according to, some people have back problem, leg problem, etc. So sitting comfortably, you're then going to visualize, like I said, your mother on your left, your father on your right, friends and family behind you, facing towards you, same direction. In front of you, your enemies or the uncomfortable people in your life. I mean, they're not so happy with you. And then all sentient beings surrounding you. In the meditation, you're reflecting on the suffering that they are experiencing. So you need to think about the hot and the cold realms. You may not believe in them, but you need to think about them. Because if you don't think about them, you're not going to help them. How would it be to be too hot? I mean, like burning hot, 24 hours a day. How would it be to be freezing cold 24 hours a day? On and on and on and on and on. So you can study those realms. There's books with descriptions. But just generally think about places that are too hot, places that are too cold. I used to think about places in India like Rajasthan, you know, in the summer where it would get up to 50 degrees, over 50 degrees, no water, no electricity, so difficult. Then the hungry ghost, what do they experience? The hungry ghost, it said they have a very thin throat and they have a big stomach, so they can never find enough food or drink. Their karma is not to experience food and drink. So they feel hungry all the time. They feel thirsty all the time. And maybe every 10, 12 years, 15 years, they find a little amount of food because somebody's dedicated it for the hungry ghosts, the preta. The animal, look at the animal realm, they have a lot of fear. It's interesting to watch the birds. You know, there's a lot of birds around here. And then when I watch them, if you make the slightest noise, they're sort of off, you know, they freak out and they fly away. I have one bird that isn't afraid at all. It comes onto my balcony and then hops onto the floor and eats the dog food. It looks at me as if to say, I'm going to eat this food. And then Tashi, the dog, sort of looks at the bird. And then last time I had the dog food on the table, higher table outside, and then the bird hopped onto the pot plants and went around the pot plants until it found the food and then ate the food. It's very unusual. Usually these sort of birds, you know, they're very nervous. So it's good to study the animal realm, because we often think, oh, to be a bird or to be a dolphin would be so wonderful, you know. But you're not going to have a human mind. You're going to have an animal mind or fish mind, bird mind, you know. Not as easy as we think. So think about the animal suffering. Think about how humans make animals suffer, isn't it? For leather, for food, etc. Even in the fields, even when you're farming organic, thousands of creatures, insects can die even to grow organic food. And then humans, birth, sickness, old age, death. So these are the classical sort of sufferings we all experience. Birth, from the time of birth, you're aging. Inevitably, the elements become imbalanced, so we get sickness. And then at the end, we die. Then we have demigods and gods. So the demigods, jealousy, anger. Not so difficult to understand. You know, these are beings who don't have, and they're looking at beings who have higher up, you know, the God realm, small g, not big G. So God realm, because they're experiencing, wow, you know, parties, food, everything they want. And the demigod realm, they're not experiencing it, so they feel jealous. They want what the God realm's got. And they go and fight and they lose. And then they build up their jealousy and anger and they go and fight and then they lose. So the demigods, conflict and jealousy. And the God realm, no Dharma, so they're having a great time, but no Dharma, no sound of Dharma. And at the end of the time in the God realm, then their bodies start to wither. they become aware that they're going to leave. So the last 7 days is a terrible suffering because nobody wants to go near them. Suddenly they're shunned by all the other beings around them. So as you breathe in, you're going to breathe in slowly, and you feel you're taking away the suffering of all living beings. You have to know about these sufferings in order to really feel I'm taking these sufferings. And you visualize that you take from them their suffering in the form of black smoke. So you're breathing it in through your nostrils and down into your chest area, your heart area. So in your heart area, your self-cherishing attitude is in the form of a rock or a ball, a sphere. So as you breathe in that black smoke, it goes down into that ball of black energy. So the black smoke is sort of mixing with what's already there. You can do it one of two ways. You could do it as a one breath, an explosion type thing. But I think for us, it's more effective to keep taking and taking and taking that suffering in the form of black smoke until you feel that you can't take any more, and then it explodes. I think it's better that way. But, there's some extraordinary people out there who can just do it all in one breath, like breathe in all the suffering of all beings, explode. Just do it whichever way suits you. That second method, the very quick one, I tell people to do in supermarkets. You can do it when you're going around the supermarket and you see suffering in the supermarkets. Breathe it in, explode. On goes the trolley. Because you can't be spending 20 minutes parked in front of somebody, breathing in, Where was I? Oh yeah. I saw this lady she was pregnant and she had 2 children, looked like under 5. And I thought, gosh, she looked so tired and worn out from this, So sometimes you just see somebody and their face, they look so tired and you want to do something for them, but there's nothing you can do. That's a good thing, Instead of thinking, oh, poor me, you're thinking about them. So the cherishing other attitude is arising. But then what do you do with it? You can breathe in the suffering and give back happiness. Just like that. So you feel that the suffering of living beings and your self-cherishing attitude have been obliterated. Repeat this process each time that you breathe in. So, like I said, you can keep breathing it in. You could breathe it in once and completely explode. You could keep breathing it in and the rock or the smoke gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it explodes. Or you could breathe it in, explode, breathe it in, explode, breathe it in, explode. I think you have to figure out the method that suits your mind. So you've tried this and you think, it's impossible. I just can't do it. Because your self-cherishing mind is saying, hang on a minute, what about me? From beginningless time, it's been there. So you may find it's better to start with your own suffering. The suffering you're experiencing now, the suffering that you could experience in the future. So breathe in that black smoke in the form of your suffering, and then you destroy the self-cherishing in your heart, but the beginning of the meditation is about you and working with your suffering as opposed to the suffering of other beings. So if you find there's a resistance and it's difficult for you to get started, then that could be another way. You need to destroy the self-cherishing in your heart area. So you start with yourself, then your mother, taking from her all the suffering that she's experienced in the past, is experiencing now, or will experience in the future. If she's passed away, you don't know where she's been reborn. So, just imagine that wherever she is, anyway, she's in samsara and that she needs help. So you take the suffering of your mother. Think of the sufferings that she has or had as a human, had or has in the lower rebirths, will have in future lives, and take it all away as you're breathing in. Then you do the same for your father, your brother, your sisters, your relatives, the suffering of your friends, then strangers, then enemies, and then all humans. And then you go on to the animals, the hungry spirits, the hell beings, the demigods, the gods. You can go step by step. So you can either visualize them all surrounding you, or you can do it step by step. Then finally, once you've done all this step by step, you visualize taking the suffering of all living beings together. So you've visualized each realm, and then if there's still any suffering left, you take it all. So now it should all be gone. Then you concentrate single-pointedly on the thought that now all living beings are completely free from suffering and have gained all realizations, especially the realization of great compassion, because they all have the potential of great compassion. So by you taking away all their suffering, great compassion has manifested, has appeared. So that's the taking part. This is, I think, the most difficult. So as I said, you may start with yourself, and then you move on to your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters. You can gradually build up your experience of the taking if you feel it's difficult for you. You don't have to go for all sentient beings in the first time if you feel that this is too overwhelming. We want to build up this mental fortitude, mental courage, to the point where you're willing to take on the suffering of all sentient beings. Then the second part, the taking, is finished. Then we're going to give, the giving. So this is your happiness, your realizations, the good conditions, whatever goodness there is in your life, in your karma, in your mind, everything good. You're going to breathe it out. You're going to give away all your happiness, your good conditions, the merit that you're collecting now, you will collect in the future, all the blessings you've received from Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and your gurus, all your happiness and all the causes of happiness that you possess are breathed out in the form of white light, which goes to the beings of all 6 realms. You right?
It's
Huh?
running out of power.
Hmm?
It's running out of power.
Who is?
The Mac.
Oh, is it? How do you know?
Fiona.
How does she know?
I don't know.
Okay. Hold on 1 minute. I'm running out of power. I have to go and find it. It's probably because of this camera. Lillian, you can stand in front of the camera and do a little song and dance. Make them happy. I don't burn myself now. So there's a plug down there with a little. Can't see anything. All I can see is bright light. You'll have to ask Fiona if it's okay.
Yes, it's okay now. Thank you, Gena.
I'm back. Now I'm energized. So we were breathing in black smoke of suffering. We're now breathing out white light, which is the white light of benefits. So this is all the merit that you have, all the goodness that you have, everything good that you have that normally you'd be hanging on to and you don't want to practice generosity with, you're going to have to give it all away. As you breathe it out to all beings of the six realms, it transforms into whatever they require. So if it's the hot hells, then it brings a cooling breeze like air conditioning. If it's the cold realms, it brings warm air. If it's the hungry ghost, receiving food and drink. If it's the animals, taking away their fear, giving courage. Human realm, giving satisfaction, because we're in the desire realm. I can't get no satisfaction. So what was it? I try and I try and I try. It was Elvis Presley, wasn't it originally? But then I think the Rolling Stones. I still remember that mouth. What was his name? Mick Jagger. Yeah. So even they knew, you know, they're more enlightened than we are, singing about so long ago. I can't get no satisfaction. In the human realm, that's our problem. I want, I want, I want. Demigods, removing the conflict, giving peace, tranquility, taking away the jealousy, having the ability to rejoice in the happiness and whatever other beings have. And then the God realm, hearing Dharma, because before they were there for such a long time, using up karma and delusion, using up, their positive karma, and not hearing any Dharma. Now they hear the Dharma. So you can give out this light, this white light, in an appropriate way. So if it's for instance, your mother, your father, brothers, sisters, then you could give this white light in an appropriate way for them that you know about, you know, because you know their personalities, you know what they need. And then the realms, you can give it out in the form that you assume they need. Does that make sense? Okay, so maybe we stop there, and then I think next week I will do, sorry, not next week, the week after, in a fortnight, I will do the meditation with you, because this is not the normal one I do. I usually do the breathing in, explode and giving out light. I usually do it in a slightly different way. So I thought this time we'll try it this way. Slightly same, but slightly different, isn't it? And you can think about it. You can meditate on the equanimity, the advantages and disadvantages, and whether you come to, yes, I can do it. And then if you have any questions in 2 weeks, you can ask me. So we can give a bit of time to that, because it's important. If you have any confusion or any resistance to this method, it's important that you can ask. Okay. Thank you all so much. I must say I very much enjoy being with you and teaching. And I appreciate you taking your time and your energy to study these subjects. I also heard that we have many people studying with Geshe, the philosophy classes, and maybe some people think that the cause of suffering is, is Buddhist philosophy, isn't it? Because we come from a society that's educated, and we assume that we're going to understand anything that we study. It's not going to be that difficult. But what you're studying is the Buddha. So the Buddha's definition, the Buddha's way of thinking. And that's not so easy. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was saying she had similar frustration when she started studying this. And she was told by the teacher, stop struggling, stop trying to understand it, just accept it. It's when you think I should understand it that you struggle with it. You think, I'm intelligent, why can't I understand it? It's because you're not a Buddha, you know? So the Lamrim teachings, in a way, are so much easier. And then the actual philosophy, which the Lamrim is based on, is so much more difficult. But if you hang in there, there's a benefit. There will be a benefit for you. Anyway, we're going to dedicate all the merit, everything that we've accumulated as a group. We're going to dedicate it, particularly, I think, now for the people in Afghanistan. Must be a terrible suffering, you know, to be at the airport and you're trying to get out, you can't get out. I mean, did you see the pictures of people on the plane? The plane is trying to take off and they're standing on the wing and desperate to go, you know, and the people with passports can't get out. They're just stuck in the airport, you know, at the gate, or they're stuck wherever, because people are just desperate. And you think 20 years of war has produced what? You know, virtually nothing. No, certainly no freedom for the people who are suffering. So we think conflict brings about something good, but does it? Has it produced something beneficial? So that's why we pray, may the world's leaders have minds of compassion. That includes any leader, no matter what their religion, what their philosophy. May they have minds of compassion and love, the Tonglen mind, instead of the self-cherishing mind, but the mind that wants to be a benefit to its population, not in a selfish way, but in a very compassionate, loving way. So that we dedicate due to the merits of these virtuous actions. Now, quickly turn the state of a Buddha and lead all sentient beings without exception into that enlightened state. The supreme Buddha bodhicitta has not arisen, arise and grow, and where it has arisen, may it not diminish, but increase evermore. And then chanted Deva. May all beings everywhere, led by
We just lost connection from Ghana. Just a moment.
Afia, maybe you can share screen. We can finish the dedications.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
We can start from here. I just lost all connection. Okay. Due to the merit of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all sentient beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the Supreme True Bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and where it has arisen, may it not diminish, but increase evermore. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are. Also, I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the virtuous ones, thus gone of 3 times, so that I may perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. May all beings everywhere, prayed by the suffering of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merit. May no living creatures suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled. With a mind weighed down by depression, may the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective, and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Wherever disease there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound to be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. Wisdom light of true compassion, source of Tara's love maternal, blossom such a perfect holder, we request your life eternal. Teacher, father, mother, guru, we entrain you live forever, guiding all to liberation, perfecting our minds forever. With your always useful guidance and profound compassionate ways, shining towers light eternal, guiding through her Tathagata mind. Om Guru Vajratara Shomati Vijaya Sawasiti Hom. Om Tare Turu Guru Shomati Vijaya Aya Punya Janana Pushtin Guru Ye Soha. Thank you. Thank you very much. So see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.